This video is brought to you by CarCostCanada.com. To find the dealer's cost, any reduced interest rates or rebates, click on the link at any time during the video. Welcome to a very cold Quebec. We're north of Montreal, near Mont-Tremblant, for a chance to drive the Canadian launch of the Cayenne Turbo and the Cayenne S. Cayenne has been a monster for Porsche ever since it was introduced 16 years ago. It accounts for roughly 40% of all of the Porsches they've sold in Canada. Macan has surpassed in terms of sales annually, but this still is a very, very important product, the first SUV from Porsche, and it continues to be a bit of a benchmark in its class. The Cayenne really is a great combination of luxury, performance, and everyday usability with a great badge on the front, but also an accompanying price tag. We'll get to the price in just a moment. So even though the base Cayenne, the one with the turbo 6-cylinder engine, is the volume seller, there still is a segment of the market that wants more power, wants more of everything. So that's what we're here to try out. So first of all, we're going out in this kind of purple looking Turbo, and then we'll drive the S with a little bit of a surprise in the middle. Okay, it is much warmer inside, and I got to tell you that it's hard to do video when it's this cold. So some of the pictures you'll see of these cars are going to be from a sunnier location, but you'll get the idea. So first of all, driving in the Turbo, which is nice, and the Turbo is an expensive proposition, but the thing is, at least you get some kind of value in this car. You get a lot more equipment upgrades over, say, the Cayenne S. For example, it comes standard with the air suspension. It comes standard with the rear active steering that can turn the rear wheels up to 3 degrees. It also comes with the upgraded, not ceramic, but coated brakes. Now, this is really quite interesting. Porsche has their own proprietary brake manufacturing system, and the brakes are coated, and what it does is it reduces brake dust by 90%, and because of that, they went to a white brake caliper to show just how clean the wheels will stay. In addition, this coating helps elongate the life of the rotor and can increase the service time by about 30%. So it's about a $4,000 upgrade if you want to get that on, say, a Cayenne S or a base Cayenne. It is available on those cars, but comes standard here on the Turbo. And then, of course, you get the 4-liter twin-turbo V8 and a whole lot of horsepower. It's 541 horsepower and 568 pound-feet of torque. Now, this weather isn't exactly the best for showcasing the power of a car like this because it's very slippery out, but the rumble from the engine is fantastic. And one thing Porsche really spends a lot of time on with the Cayenne generally is weight savings. This car is a lot lighter than, say, a comparable X5. It's about 700 pounds lighter than an X5. So that's quite a bit of weight savings, and that's what you want in a vehicle like this. So you can get a run to 100 kilometers an hour in this Cayenne Turbo in under 4 seconds. Big, family, 5-passenger, it's pretty cool. Now, what is available with this car and all Cayennes, it's standard on this car, is the Porsche Dynamic Lighting System. Now, this is the matrix system that has the ability to block out objects when you're driving along with the high beam. So when you come up behind somebody on the highway, you're not blinding them. It actually blocks out using pixels to make sure it doesn't blind oncoming traffic or a car that's in front of you. This has not been available in the Canadian market due to regulations. Now, it is going to change, and here's the thing. It's going to change for the model 2020. So if you're really super interested in any Cayenne and you want that matrix lighting package, it is not reverse compatible. They're not going to be able to turn it on after you buy the car. You're going to have to wait and order a 2020. And if you drive a lot in rural environments, it might be worth the wait to get that package. It is standard on the Turbo, but optional on the other Cayennes. So I'm here to tell you, I'm a huge Cayenne fan. I've owned 2 of them. Actually, our current family vehicle is the Cayenne, not this model, the previous version. And it's a wonderful family car because it does everything so well. It's plenty roomy on the inside, really nice large back seat, a good cargo area. The front seats are very, very comfortable. It's a luxury car. It's also a performance vehicle, especially if you get this turbo. It really does everything so well. Plus, these cars are incredibly well made. I've had 2 Cayennes and they've been very reliable. So I'm here to tell you that it's a great option if you're in this end of the marketplace. Now, when you look at the interior of the Cayenne, there's upgrades for sure. You get the 12.3-inch PCM head unit now. They say the resolution of the screen is about the same as an iPhone 6, very high resolution. Below that is the area that is a bit controversial. I'm mixed on this. You get the glass panels, similar to what you would get on an iPhone, but it's touch sensitive, haptic feedback. I prefer the old buttons and the one I have that are easy just to touch, look and touch. I think this would become more familiar the longer you had it. The issue I have is it shows a lot of dust and fingerprints. So you have to look at that and think, is that something I like or don't like? Or you're not going to have a choice. You're going to have to buy it with this anyway. So that's one thing where people either like or dislike the interior. On either side of the analog tack are 7-inch TFT displays, which are look like regular analog gauges. Now, since we're in snowy Quebec, north of Montreal, near the Mont Tremblant area, Porsche said, hey, let's go to the Porsche Ice Experience and drive some 911s on the ice. Before we get to the Cayenne S, I'll show you a little bit of that. Every winter, Porsche takes over an ice circuit in Macéglise, Quebec, about an hour north of Montreal, to let Porsche owners or potential owners get to drive Carrera, Carrera S, and 4S on the ice with the traction control off. Just the driver and the machine learning how to drive on ice over 3 nights in 2 days. The cars run on studded Nokian Hakkapeliitta tires. The instructors are world class and the experience is a blast. It costs roughly $5,500 Canadian excluding airfare, but everything else is included. Do yourself a favor. If you want to learn to drive better, visit PorscheExperience.ca. So I highly recommend, if you want to improve your driving and you want to get behind the wheel of some great cars, the Porsche Ice Experience is fantastic. And we just had a very short 1-day example. It spreads over 3 days and you stay in a beautiful part of Canada here in Quebec. So now we've done Turbo, we've done the Ice Experience, and now we're back in the Cayenne S. Now, for those that are not aware, the base Cayenne, the 6-cylinder turbo, is the best seller, far and away. And then the next best seller is this one, which is the S, and it takes up the performance a nice notch. So it goes from roughly 335 horsepower in the base Cayenne. This vehicle gets 434 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque. The interesting thing is, both vehicles share pretty much the same block and technology in the engine. What they do is they add a second turbocharger, so go from a single turbocharger to 2 turbochargers, and they also make the stroke a little bit shorter. So that's a 3-liter, and this is a 2.9. What does it mean? Doesn't mean anything other than you get more power, and the engine really is fantastic. This was a developed engine by Audi. They use it in some of their products. By the way, the turbo we drove earlier, the V8, so the way it works in the Volkswagen group is the V8s are developed by Porsche and the V6s are developed by Audi. Okay, so if you want the real Porsche engine, you might want to spend more money and get that. Doesn't really matter. It's all good. These are fantastic cars. And after driving the turbo earlier in the day and then getting into this, it has a lighter feel, and the biggest difference, this car is equipped with the air suspension and the active rear steering, but it does not have the Porsche dynamic chassis control that moves the actuators on the suspension electronically to basically counter pitch into the corners, and that makes the steering a lot lighter and a lot more usable in everyday situations. On the edge, using that turbo to its utmost in terms of power and cornering, you would notice it, but for everyday situations, this one I think is more comfortable. So a lot of the stuff that was in that turbo, that standard equipment, is optional. You can get it here. You can get the air suspension. You can get the active rear steer. You can get the Porsche dynamic system. You can get those fancy brakes if you want them. But you know, most people just drive this car because it has more power. And it makes a run to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.9 seconds. It's a beautiful car. This is a really nice balance. If you you know, you couldn't afford the turbo, trust me, this isn't a major step down from that in everyday usability. It really feels quick and light on its feet, and a lot of fun to drive. There is an upside to the way that Porsche is developing the looks of this Cayenne by not changing it much from iteration to iteration. They don't age that badly. So you could buy this car and keep it for 6 or 8 years and it would still look kind of fresh and current. And it sounds pretty good too. Yeah, lots of go, a really free revving engine, great sound, great handling. This is nice. So the base Cayenne, the regular V6 Turbo, starts at right around $75,000, a price increase, but that car has a lot more standard equipment. So the S now starts at $92,600, and the Turbo, this purple one here, is $139,700. In fact, the price of both the S and the Turbo is slightly lower by just a few dollars, even though it has more equipment. So these are the cars that people buy if they want to have the best. The Turbo really is the top of the pot. It comes with so much standard equipment now, the air suspension, the active steering, and the wonderful brakes. You can opt for the ceramic brakes if you want, but I think this is going to be a really nice compromise for most people. The engines are wonderful. They're so well put together. The only knock against the new Cayenne is maybe they didn't change the design enough on the outside. And on the inside, some people are not loving that center console. But overall, these are wonderful, wonderful cars. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to afford one, it's in your best interest to try it, because in my opinion, if you want to have a premium luxury SUV with the go, this is where you should start shopping. If you'd like to get the dealer's cost for your next new vehicle, any reduced interest rates or rebates, click on the Car Cost Canada link in the description below.